Anyway, let's do a quick run through of the weapons. So it might give you an opportunity to see what you like. I've done this a few times already for folks dropping in, but I don't mind doing this a few times. Right. So the first weapon is the Karakuri katana, which in Monster Hunter terms, the longsword, basically. I'm going to use PlayStation controls here, so you may have to do some conversions in your head. You obviously have your basic attack combo with square. You can hit up to 5 times. You can also press triangle for EI combos, which help you dodge around the map. And perform attacks like that. You also have a lunge and attack, which helps you reposition. And they can all be comboed into one another. So you could go square, square, R2. Or, triangle, R2. You can normally combo them into one another. Now, if you notice down in the bottom left of the corner, bottom left of the screen, a blue bar is starting to fill up when I attack. When this is full, then things start getting fun. Now it's full. If you press either R2 and triangle or R2 and square, doesn't matter which, you'll unleash and unbound the katana, turning it into a katana that is also a whip. It does more damage, hits multiple times, and you can get some of the biggest combo damage, biggest damaging combos for this weapon in this form. Now the thing is, you don't have to spend all the gauge. You can press R2 in circle to bind it again and turn it back into the normal katana. In which case you can save some of the progress, especially if the monster's running away. But you can only unbind and go into sort of like whip mode when it's full up, if that makes sense. Of course, you can use all the other contraptions as well to perform extra attacks if you wanted to, but to be honest, most of these are kind of situational, and the bread and butter combos, what I just displayed there, are kind of the main event and main rotations you would be doing with the longsword. So it's a case of just attacking, building up the meter, using your sort of like square combos if the monster's being a bit more stationary, and your triangle combos if the monster's a little bit more mobile. Well, I like that one already. It's approved. To be honest, at the moment, this weapon is probably my 3rd or 4th favourite. It's also the weapon you all start with. Yeah, exactly, Specs. We were saying that. Obviously, there are sort of like comparisons and such. It's bound to happen. But hopefully this competition will make Capcom do better. Anyway, next up is I believe it's pronounced Nodachi, which is the equivalent to the Greatsword. This is probably the weapon that I struggle with the most. Sorry, Greatsword fans. It has a meter similar to the longsword, but it's used differently. It obviously has a main combo done with. Oh, hang on, I've got to turn the training bear on a minute. Hang on a sec. Its main combos are done with square, free hit combo, slow, but hits quite hard. It also has a EI. No. What is it called? Anyway, it has an attack with triangle. It's a simple attack, but has wide sort of like arc, so it hits wide, and it can be comboed into the square combo as well. So it goes square, square, triangle, so on and so forth. You can also be done backwards and forwards as well. Don't press any button, and it will send you backwards. Press a direction, and it will go in the direction you're pressing. Right. Now, here's where the fun starts. Because following this, because the the Greatsword has Dragoon, yeah, it's got mobility. The Greatsword has its charge up mechanic, but it's also a special stance. You see the bar in the bottom right? It's filling up. When it's full, you'll be able to unleash your full strongest attack. But there's a few nuances to this. For example, you can just press it once and then do a quick one. Or you can hold it and let it charge up once to about halfway point, like now. And then you perform a harder hitting one, and then you can let it charge up all the way to perform that hardest hitting one. Now the thing is with the charged attacks, you can move while charging. You don't have to stay still. However, there is an issue with this, because you'll notice the speed at which the gauge charges up very fast when you're staying still, but when you're moving, it's incredibly slow. And it also consumes stamina. Should you run out of stamina, the charged attack will fail and you'll fall out of the stance. You can also combine the charged attacks with other attacks if you wanted to continue on your combo. Wow, they really weaved it up. Well, the whole, you know, it's the whole game is kind of, you know, it's fantasy Japanese kind of an Asian sort of influence. You know, we don't have any sort of traditional dragons. So fast charge is not moving. Slow charge will strain your stamina whilst on the move. Yeah, exactly, Dragoon. It's kind of a fair trade. I would agree with that. Anyway, let's move on to the... Oh, Freya, bless you. Thank you for gifting a sub to Alice. That's really sweet of you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, birthday's coming up tomorrow, so I've been having Wild Hearts here for the birthdays. It's actually been quite nice. That's really sweet of you. So, Hammer, otherwise known as the Maul. Anyone who likes the perfect rush for the sword and shield and the hammer is going to like this weapon because it kind of combines the two together. You have your basic combos with square. Oh, I forgot to actually activate the bear again. I don't like that you have to activate it after each attempt. So yeah, you have your basic square combo. You have your triangle attack, which is like a jumping overhead thing. I think, if I can remember right, you can do that. You can do the jumping thing into other combos as well. Yeah, you can. You also have R2, which anyone who's familiar with Monster Hunter will experience that, except if you keep at it, it gets faster and faster, and the range on the hammer becomes further and further, resulting in a big smash at the end. Because this Maul has an extendable hilt, or handle thing, which is where the fun part comes in. Because when you attack with the hammer, you'll see the hammer itself lights up red at some points. When that happens, press R2, and you extend the hammer, creating bigger and harder hitting attacks. Great, man. You can do it as well with the triangle combo, but I'm not very good at it. I keep messing up the third hit. But, and obviously it's better against airborne monsters. Most of the time I just do the ground, the standard square one. But that's basically the hammer. So if you like Perfect Rush, you're gonna like that one. The camera is kind of comical. I mean, it does look a little bit goofy. It looks like a massive beer keg with a thing attached to it. Okay, now we get on to the WAGASA, or the umbrella. Use that one. I like that one there. Now, this weapon is probably the highest skill ceiling weapon in the game. Not because the weapon in itself is complex, But because the way the umbrella works is it's a parry machine. Parry machine. Yeah, you parry attacks to power it up. So you're relying on your own ability to predict the monster attacks to counter them. Yes. For the most part, it has its standard combos. You know, activate it again. It has very fast and fluid combos. You have your basic square attacks. Which attacks up to five times. 5. You have a triangle attack, which will launch you into the air. And then you can do your square combo if you wanted to. Or you can do a landing attack with triangle again. And then you have R2, which is your parry. You can actually parry a monster and then follow up with other attacks if you wanted to, which is normally how when things get a little bit complex. That is the basics that's the basic attacks. That's the basic bread and butter attacks. You also see down in the corner that there is a gauge starting to fill up. And this will fill up This will fill up as you attack a monster, but it's very, very, very slow. And whilst you're in this sort of like blue tier, your attacks are very weak and not very effective at all. So this is where the parry comes into, because when a monster attacks you, you gonna attack me, buddy? There we go. When a monster attacks you, you parry it, and it will give you a huge chunk of that bar filled up, and then your square and triangle attacks will become more advanced and more hit harder. They are more flashier. They damage more and such. So but the only trouble is the parry window is so flipping tight with this. There's like a frame second where you can pull it off. Normally when your hunter flashes white, he says as he gets smacked. Oh, I gotta remove that one. So yeah, so we've almost up to tier 1. I mean, people were saying that airborne attacks also fill up your gauge a little bit faster. So that is something to keep in mind. So we're in tier 2 now. You'll notice the attacks start to become a little bit harder. The umbrella itself is glowing yellow as well. And you'll notice that some of the attacks that follow up after the counter have additional hits to them. But what you really want to aim for is getting your umbrella into the red, like now. Because this is where the real fun gets, and you get access to the amazing attacks. And as long as you keep up your assault, you won't lose that gauge. So you need to parry. Getting the parry off. You still have access to the parry, obviously, at any time. And another note as well, I don't know if I'll be able to show you here because the monster doesn't attack while airborne, but you can attack whilst in the air. You can parry whilst in the air and block monster attacks that way. So think of this as a cross between maybe the dual blades, sword and shield, long sword, and insect glaive built into the one. But the counter is going to be the hardest, and it's the hardest learning curve because the window is so small. You also have to have stamina for it, because you can't just go like that and expect it to be blocked. You have to actually perform the move when your hunter lights up white, not when the umbrella does. So some unholy union between the charge blade and insect. Yeah, charge blade could actually also be considered in that. But that's the WAGASA, or the umbrella. Now, let's move on to my favourite weapon, the bow, which is the last of the normal weapons that you get at the start of the game. You start the game with the katana, the longsword. You do the very first story mission tutorial, basically, and then you get to craft the other ones that we've shown off here. The Nodachi, the bow, the maul, and the umbrella. The other weapons are unlocked as you progress through the game when you get to chapter 2. So, the bow. The bow is a rotational weapon in this game. You have two stances done by pressing square. You have vertical and horizontal stances. Now, the way the bow works is the game wants you to attack the monster whilst in your horizontal stance first. You can fire up to 3 attacks with R2, planting arrows into the monster. You also have to be aware of a critical range as well, much like Monster Hunter. So if you're firing from too far away, you'll do next to no damage. But the shots that you perform with your horizontal attacks will leave these green glowing arrows in a monster. I mean, the arrows themselves don't do much damage at all, but you're not doing it necessarily for damage, you're doing it for the green planted arrows, because when you press square and switch into vertical mode, you'll be able to perform a charged arrow shot instead, a bolstered bow attack, so to speak. No, that's not the bolstered bow attack, you can scratch that one. Releasing it explodes all the green arrows that are attached to the monster. So it's a case of priming the monster with your normal arrows, switch over, and then explode. But wait, there's more. Do you have to no ammo? One of the great things is there is no sharpness for the melee weapons, and there is no ammo for the ranged weapons. All your arrows, bullets for the game's equivalent of the heavy bowgun, they don't need any items and consumables. It is actually quite a nice little change. I know sharpness was always there as kind of a immersion mechanic, I guess, and trying to do realism and such, but it was always kind of took me out of it a little bit. So you don't have to worry about sharpness, anything like that. Yeah, definitely hype for it. Yeah, you can do the every weapon has really good the invincibility frames, the iframes when dodging are very good in this game, and there are skills like sort of like evade window as well, which makes it even better. Anyway, but wait, there's more. Now the thing that makes the bow fun is bolstered mode. Now, regardless of which, if you're in horizontal or vertical form, you can press triangle to boost or alter your bow slightly, bolstering it, like so. This will change the attacks, the arrows, arrow attacks that you perform. So with the horizontal form, bolstering the bow once with triangle, so pressing triangle once, will allow you to perform the higher rapid fire attack. Now, obviously planting loads of arrows into the monster. You can also bolster a bow twice, not just once. So once is for that rapid fire attack, twice extends the bow even further and allows us to perform a volley which we can aim, and as long as we've got stamina, it will continuously rain arrows down on the monster that plant themselves into the monster, to which we can detonate. Oh, you like the dodge. The thing is, you can implement some of the dodges into the yeah, it's quite nice to dodge. Anyway, yes, you can also bolster whilst in vertical mode as well, which allows you to perform this game's version of the Dragon Piercer. It can also be... hang on, let me put some more arrows into the monster. The Dragon Piercer can also... you can knock 2 arrows against it, not just one. So 1, 2, and she puts 2 arrows instead of 1. The Dragon Piercer is so much more viable in this game. So how long did the planted... we've been doing some testing. The planted arrows seem to last a long time. And there seems to be there doesn't seem to be a limit to how many you can put into the monster. But I am sure there is a limit. But that is basically the bow. How far is the range? Like I said, there is a critical distance. So, you know, obviously the further you are away from a monster, I'm doing like 1 damage. Yeah, so you got to get a little bit close, unfortunately. Anyway, let's move on to the next weapon. Now, the next three weapons, we have the hand cannon, i.e. the heavy bowgun. We have the claw blade, i.e. the dual blades, and then we have the Karakuri staff, which is basically a hybrid. We'll get to that one last because that's probably the most complex. Let me show off the heavy bowgun for Dragoon. Now, the heavy bowgun. Oops, hang on. Let me press the wrong button there. Let me start again. Ignore what I did there. Just pretend that didn't happen. So, the heavy bowgun is another heavy rotational weapon, I would say. You have 3 meters, which is the most out of all these weapons. You have 3 meters you need to be paying attention to. You have the blue bar above your health bar. This, when you're firing with R2, will slowly start to deplete. And then once it's fully run out, you'll be firing like a very slow semi-automatic weapon. But how do you get that blue bar back? Well, you'll see it next to the blue bar on the right of it. There are 5 little hexagons. These are known as key bases. Oh, by the way, this weapon is very heavily inspired by Dragon Ball Z. These key bases can be planted on the ground by pressing either square. You see it refilled the bar, or you can also hold triangle and R2 to fire them off manually, cluster bomb style, which will also deal damage to a monster. Now, whilst you're in these key bases, you won't lose the rapid fire function of your weapon, which is the main reason for them. You can have 5 at any one point, but you can always reset them with R2 and square, and then replant them elsewhere if you so wish. Obviously, this being a heavy bowgun, it's as slow as flipping molasses, but the roll is quite good, and you do have a lot of iframes when performing it. So, but here's where things get interesting. Here's where things get juicy and make this weapon either my 3rd or 4th weapon. Let's put a few more key bases down a second. Right, because when you're firing and attacking a monster, you'll notice that there is a 3rd meter starting to fill up. This is the flame gauge, I believe it's called. It will eventually start to flame as you continuously attack a monster. So about now, it's starting to turn on fire. You don't want to overheat your weapon, because if you overheat your weapon, you basically have to start the rotation again. But whilst it's like this, whilst it's on fire, you can enhance the key bases by firing off an enhanced key base in the cluster bomb style. So you would fire it off like so. Not only does it deal more damage, but it creates a key base that is red. Now, the main reason we want to do this, we want to go after this red one, is because we can absorb the energy of it into the gun itself by pressing R2 and triangle, called the Celestial Thread charge. This absorbs the red energy into our gun, and now we have access to a move done by pressing triangle and R2 called the Fortified Firing Stance, which is basically... Oh, wrong button. Which is basically a bazooka mode. And this is where the fun happens. Because you get a flipping Kamehameha beam followed by a nuke. So it's all about trying to combat a monster within your bases that you've set up. Get that fire gauge going till it starts flaming. Then you fire off your enhanced cluster bomb. It hits a monster, lands wherever. You go over to it as fast as possible, absorb it into your gun, retreat back to your place of safety, stick the gun on your shoulder, and go Goku on their ass. It's beautiful. This is why it's one of. This is why I know the claw and the bow are still my favorites, but this is why it's one of. This is up there. Dude, the weapons in this game are sick. Yeah, but I was going to say, boom, they really are. Hey, Dragon Dad, how's it going? Welcome back to the stream. So yeah, the heavy bowgun is kind of glorious in this. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, we'll see as we go on with the game, but yeah. Right, okay, I think most of you already sort of saw me using this weapon, so I'll go run through this one really quickly. But the claw blade is basically like the dual blades. Square attacks have these fast combos, hits about 7 times. You can also press triangle attacks, which move you and perform a few airborne attacks. The square and triangle combos can be comboed together. And you'll notice that a blue bar in the bottom left of your screen starts filling up as you're attacking a monster. When this happens, this is tied to your claw attack, which is performed by pressing R2. The claw attack will lodge the claw inside the monster, and you'll see there is a yellow bar that is depleting. This yellow bar, the amount of yellow bar you have, is dictated by how much blue bar you had when you attached the claw to the monster. But when you're attached to a monster, if you press circle, or X and circle, you go attack on Titan mode. You can press circle to dodge, X to go higher, or you can press R2 again to fling yourself at a monster. After which, you press square or triangle to perform attacks. Now, the thing is, what you want to go for with this, with the claw blade, what you're striving for is trying to perform as many R2s and triangles as possible, because doing this will allow you to perform its ultimate. Has great potential as the multiplayer weapons alongside the bow. Yeah, definitely. But the claw blade are my second favorite weapons. They are so fun to use. Like I said, if you've ever played Koei's Attack on Titan games, you might know what to expect, because it has a similar mechanic when fighting the Titans in that game. I'm sold. Take my money. Yeah, it's a lot. The claw blades are a lot of fun. I find them very, very, very fun to use. But that brings us to the last weapon, which is by far the hardest mechanically, bar the umbrella's counter mechanics, which is the Karakuri staff. Now, this weapon is 5 weapons in one. Switch axe users and charge blade users are probably going to get on with this one. Now, you obviously have access to the staff mode, which is your starting mode. It has kind of 2 attacks, an airborne one. The two hit combo with square, triangle does the airborne attack. You know, it's kind of simple. But if you press R2, you'll mutate the weapon, and they always go in the same order normally. Normally, there is a few exceptions, but normally it goes staff, press R2, and you'll change into the tonfas, which are a bit more like dual blade kind of attacks. So you have your square combo, and then your triangle combo. Well, triangle attack. The next weapon in the list is the giant shuriken, which is a slow weapon. It hits kind of once, but hits multiple times, but it can be thrown, like a ranged attack. And the final normal form is, I think it's called the spear, or is it Naginata? I can't remember. But it's a long-reaching weapon. It hits quite hard, but it is quite slow. It has a single square attack and a triangle attack that hits multiple times. That's the square attack. That's the triangle attack. So all this goes staff, tonfas, shuriken, Naginata. Bro, the armor alone looks sick. This is the armor. This is the armor from the. It's called the fume bird or something like that. I can't remember. It's one of the monsters. It's one of the birds. Where are you? Where are you? Fume bead. There we go. It's from that monster. You know, I got to be edgy enough, don't I? Anyway, but this is where things get interesting, because this is a rotational weapon, and you'll notice that after you perform certain combos, your hunter lights up red. So 1, 2, blinks red. When that happens, should you perform a mutation attack, R2, and change your weapon whilst that you're red, then the bar in the bottom left of your screen will start to fill up. So 1, 2, R2 to change, it starts filling up. And that bar allows you to go into the 5th weapon form, which is a greatsword. This weapon is hard to use, Dragon Dad. It is really hard to utilize. It really is. The thing is, though, this weapon hits the hardest out of any game. Buster Sword. So, yeah, Staff, Tonfa, Shuriken, Glaive, Buster Sword. And the thing is, though, right, here's where things get complicated, because this weapon is... It's like trying to remember pi, for lack of a better word. Because you're always trying to count the number of hits before you want to mutate. And they're all different for each weapon. So, for the example, the Staff, it goes 1, 2, flash red, change. Tonfa's 1, 2, 3... change, 1, change, 1, change, 1, 2, 3, 4, change, 1, 2, 3, change. You get what I mean? So you're always trying to count that rotation whilst at the same time fighting the monster and trying to avoid the monster. So I hate to say, yeah, like I said, it's trying to remember pi while trying to fight a monster. But do it enough and you'll be able to unleash the hardest hitting attack on the in the game. 1, 2, 3, change, 1, change, 1, change, 1, 2, 3, 4, change, 1, 2, change, 1, change, 1, 2, 3, change, and we're full. Now, when we are full, we get when the meter is full, we get the ultimate attack, which hits the hardest in the game, which is so, yeah. So, that is the Karakuri staff. Of course, every weapon can be utilized as well and enhanced by using these little contraptions to perform extra attacks. But for the most part, these are the bread and butter combos for each of the weapons out there. And I just hope they help anyone who's interested, and I hope they help you pick out, I hope they help you choose a weapon that you want. So yeah, hopefully very high. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very high. I think out of the weapons, the katana is pretty easy to use. The greatsword is easy to use, but it needs timing. The maul is okay to use, but it requires that timing when it comes to your attacks and changing and enhancing your maul attacks when you perform them. The bow is good as long as you can get the rotation right. The WAGASA is good if you're able to. It is good, but you have to master that parry mechanic. If you can't master that, then you're going to struggle with the weapon, as it does perform lackluster unless you've powered it up through parrying attacks or your airborne attacks. The hand cannon is good, but it relies on learning that rotation, which I don't think everyone's going to get straight away. The dual blades are incredibly fun. Claw blade are incredibly fun, as long as you don't get too greedy with them. And the Karakuri staff is obviously it has a high skill ceiling, but once you master and remember to count, you should have a lot of fun with it. I think the hardest thing about the staff is obviously trying to fight the monster whilst at the same time trying to remember your combos and perform those switch attacks or those mutation attacks, at the same time. So yeah, those are all the weapons in the game. Like I said, you get these five, from the umbrella to the katana, bow, Nodachi, maul, and the WAGASA. They're all available at pretty much the start of the game. The hand cannon, claw blade, and the Karakuri staff are available after you get to chapter 2. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps. Was that useful? I hope that was useful. Hopefully that was useful. Thank you for the weapon showcase, Dark. I need to head to work soon. Really appreciate it. Hey, to be honest, I might actually upload this onto YouTube. Name of the armor. Spirit. I was going to say Spirit. Spirulina. Sorry. The armor is from the monster known as the Fume Beak. I'm actually using. Actually, I should actually stick on the. That's the normal version of it. What I wear. It's the all black set from the Fume Beak, which is the crow, the poison crow kimono in the game. This monster here. It's a really, really beautiful armor set. Actually, I thought its cousin, which is the Pearl Beak, which is an ice version of it. I should see if it actually has a white version of this armor. Oh, boo, it does not. Oh, I thought it would have. Oh well, never mind. Hey Pin, how you doing? Fitness crazy building in this game. Yeah, well, to be honest, when it comes to, obviously we have the gadgets and contraptions you can create here with the Karakuri, but yeah, we have all these crazy the Karakuri, the building, the Minecraft slash Fortnite building mechanics. They are it does click eventually, and you will be able to utilize them quite effectively. Oh, do you mean set speed? Oh, sorry, Metro. Yes. Right. Okay. Gotta get to talk about builds now. This is where I shine. Now, when it comes to this game, there are various factors you have to consider into your build. First of all, is obviously your armor. Now, you have your base sort of armor, and they have various skills attached to them. Which can all be seen, you know, every skill is sort of like in detail here. It tells you what it does by pressing triangle or Y. It all tells you what they do. And you can mix and match them. You don't have to wear full sets if you don't want to. It's all down to you. But here's where things become interesting. So you can obviously create your own sort of build like you want, just using the base armor. But you'll notice that some of the armor pieces have skills on them that are grayed out, and they have a little icon to the left of them. You know, like you see they have a blue, purple icon next to these skills. Now, these icons are locked behind a system, a path system, so to speak, which is down at the bottom of the screen. You see at the moment it says Kimono Path. Now, what is this? This is almost like a morality system, although it doesn't really play any part in the story per se. It's just for builds. Because normally you start off in the middle. To the left of you is civilization and the humanity kind of preference. To the right is the kimono and the nature kind of path. Skills that are tied with the kimono are normally more sort of damaged focused, while skills that are focused around the humanity side of it are to do with more normally your weapons as well as the constructions and the contraptions you can make. But how do you unlock? How do you go down the paths? Well, normally this is where the modification system comes into play. So obviously you have access to your base armors, which are forged normally here. But if you press R1, you'll see that you go into the next tab called Human Path Modifications, or Kimono Path Modifications. These will allow you to upgrade the armor pieces to boost your alignment with those said, with either the Kimono Path or the Civilization or the Human Path. And thus it will unlock those skills for you. So at the moment, for example, the armor set I'm using at the moment, it is more, I've tailored it to be more in tune with the kimono. So at the moment I have, if you look on the top right where it says my health, my attack, affinity, defense, and then it's got that red icon showing my kimono path rating, showing that I've gone all the way down to that pure red kimono path, which means that any armor piece I am wearing that has this build has 2 skills. It has Sprint Master and Lunar Protection, which only become active when I am in that pure kimono path. So those skills, for example, Sprint Master enables stamina recovery when sprinting, so that's kind of cool, and boosts attack and defense whilst fighting at night. Sorry, Dragoon. There is a Palico kind of creature in this game already. Yeah. So that is basically how that works. How the builds can be potentially used to. Anyway, sorry. Get back to that is the armor basically. Sorry, just gonna message a second. Hang on a sec. How am I liking to get combat faster than Monster Hunter? What I've seen, it is and it isn't. It's not. I don't think it's as fast as Monster Hunter Rise. I think it's a little bit more methodical and a little bit more tactical. You need to be. You can't really just run into combat willy-nilly and wail on the monster. Unfortunately, you kind of just there's a lot of waiting for your opportunity to attack, if that makes sense. But I think that's the way the game's trying to make it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not 100% sure because I can't I'm trying not to we can't talk about Endgame, and I don't want to do any real sort of spoilers or anything like that. But that is the main takeaway. But no, in terms of combat, I think this is probably on par with Monster Hunter World in terms of combat pacing. But anyway, when the next facet of build you need to worry about is the weapons, because the weapons actually come with skills themselves. Every weapon in the game comes with its own unique set of different skills. Hang on, let's go. Oh, hang on. All right, wrong button. Forge. There we go. My favorite weapon so far is the bow, followed by the claw blade. Then it's the hand cannon, heavy bowgun, the Karakuri katana, then the umbrella, then the hammer, and then the greatsword, or Nodachi. But anyway, yes, basically every weapon has access to a massive talent tree. You can craft multiple weapons if you want to. There are different elements in the game, so you may want to craft elemental weapons, but you unlock these as you progress and go through the game. Now the thing is, each weapon as well as having an element, also comes with skills. You have inherent skills, which are only for that specific one weapon, and then you have inherited skills. Now inherited skills is where things become interesting, because say for example, inherited skill, strong arm spirit, it means that when I will create the next weapon, I can take that strong arm spirit down with me to the next weapon, and then down to the next weapon, and then down to this weapon, and then all the way down to the end if you wanted to. So you can carry on certain skills. What's Critical Master? Hang on, what was Crit Master? Which one had that? Which weapon had that? The thing is as well, some of these weapons as well, they will have skills that are tailored for the weapon it has. So, for example, this weapon here has an inherent skill, so we can't transfer it, unfortunately, called Knocking Marvel. Reduces the time required for bolstering the bow, i.e. charging up the bow. So you know, it's it definitely has. There's some nuances. So you're going to be creating a build not only around your armor but also your weapon, and that's going to result in in fascinating builds. It really is. Like I said, as long as the end game is satisfying enough, I think we're going to get a lot of entertainment out of this.